Yes. New formats. I'm even gonna start implementing a more like routine-based approach, I guess you could say. It's basically gonna be like a cheap Wii game, a game lost in the mists of time, a random console game, and a random PC game. This is gonna be the first non-Wii shovelware game that I reviewed since like May of 2020, which yeah, I know is super ridiculous. But enough jibber jabber, let's get right to this game.
Must have bones.
So, I know this game right here was like a huge part of my childhood, as I'm sure was for most of you that are watching as well. Is this something that should be left to nostalgia, or is it just as, if not even more fun as an adult? Stay tuned to find out.
Who's that pointing and clicking his way to internet fame? It might be a little too cool for your mainstream kind of games. But if you like retro consoles and obscure PC stuff, then you might just be hip enough for this pretentious hipster.
There's the few obvious stuff about this game, but I want to talk about the more interesting background of this, which I haven't seen mentioned in another review, frankly. It was developed by Frontier Developments, a British game company. I guess they don't really make anything that stands out that much, but some decent stuff. They got console versions of Roller Coaster Tycoon, Thrillville, Lost Winds, Connectimals, with maybe the only weird one there being Elite Dangerous, an MMO. Now, why did they do a random thing like the Elite Dangerous MMO? It's time to look at the CEO, David Braben. Yeah, I know. I haven't played any of the stuff yet. I know, that's embarrassing. But I do know of his legendary status already. Back in the 80s, there was a huge genre, especially for the Commodore 64, called space trading. I suggest checking out this video by Bastish B64K on it. It all started for the BBC Micro and Acorn Electron computers in 1984 with the release of the first iteration of Elite, created by both him and Ian Bell, who apparently ended up hating each other later on. It was super legendary for its time and ported pretty much everywhere. Games being made today are still inspired by it. So, this was one of the games that he ended up being the director of. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. CEO David Braben here. Now, space trading simulators were definitely the big thing back then, but I think it's time to lead towards a new direction. How about we now start doing... Oh wait! Dog! Apparently this game was announced at the Game Developers Conference back in 2001. It doesn't look like there was a trailer for it, but there is his talk, which yes, did contain a PowerPoint presentation, which you can still download. Of course, they said no, Elite 4 was not shown in this show. As far as I can tell from the presentation, they said that it's easy to appeal to an existing audience, but games with a wider one are very successful. Saying, do you really want your kids to play Quake 3, Counter-Strike, and Unreal Tournament? Children under 12, teen girls, and all women and men over 40 are the missing audience. They don't want pointless violence, blood, and gore. Anyways, they want empathy and lovable characters, the ability to dip in and out, fantasy and futuristic worlds, and less reliance on Twitch responses. Their example was the game called Dog's Tale, which uses the new system R-Tag. Later on, they included the Frontier Demonstrator. I don't want to go over every key development that has happened with this game, as you can just find it on a website called the Cutting Room Floor. But this actually gives you the ability to play around with it. The best part? You think I'd have to load it on my Windows XP PC? Nah, it works on a modern day one. There was also a G4 video showing it behind the scenes, which I'll link in the description. It is quite amusing. With it being a European game, it came out there first. Fun fact. The weird part is that with the European and Japanese versions, they showed ads for Pedigree. For example, there's a Pedigree vending machine in the European version, which, like the article stating, how the hell would that work? Anyways, at the same time the North American version had a Frontier lemon soda vending machine instead. So, what was this marketed as in North America? Alex Navarro was in E3 2004 and went to the preview, and it was explained to him as Grand Theft Auto with dogs. Yup, they actually did that. He did mention that it was most likely going to be marketed for kids, but looking at the PowerPoint, doesn't it make sense? See, it all comes together. It turns out that this was a budget title as well, for only $20 USD upon its release, with the North American publishers Hip Games joining the SPCA, or the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, to donate some proceeds of the game's profits to them. It was mostly received well, with the lowest score I can find being from a website called Deaf Gamers, saying that there are no subtitles for it, which obviously makes sense why it would detract the score. Brad Shoemaker's review from GameSpot was definitely something to read. No offense to him, of course, as he's one of the better reviewers that I looked up to since I was 13. This game is getting quite the following now. Lots of big YouTubers are playing it, and Vice did an article about how its odd charm resonates with us even more today. That's not exactly the reason why I played this game though. Yeah, I know, kinda like a pretentious hipster. It's just that this was a huge part of my childhood, and well, when I was looking at random console games to play, this entry just kind of stood out to me. Starting the game, I was awestruck by the tapestry that moves back and forth. The physics of it was actually quite cool. It gets weird when I press any button though. What was holding it up in the air? Who knows. Anyways, time to start the game. I know most of my reviews, I tend to do like the background, plot, pros, cons, all of that good stuff. I do kind of want to do the same here, but I want to walk through the game. I do think it'll be a nostalgia trip for everyone here, but the weird part is just seeing all the awkward stuff, especially the finicky controls. The game opens with Jake, and it has to be seen to be believed with the strange voice acting.
Hi, I'm Jake, and this is my life. No school, no chores, no clothes. How cool is that? Ah, yes, it's great being a dog. Watch this. That's Daisy. Lately, she's been ignoring me. Well, we'll see about that. Oh, yes, she will be mine. Daisy?
It smells nice out here in the country, don't it, Wade?
You cannot be serious, Dwayne. The country's full of bugs. I'll be glad when we get to Lake Minnewawa.
Wayne, can I play with them nice doggies?
For pity's sake, Dwayne, are you nuts? They're full of terrible diseases.
But I like doggies, Wayne.
I told you no.
Ow. Oh, my head. What the... No, Daisy!
Yeah, obviously one of them is slower with the boxing sparring helmet. That was a huge thing during this time period for some reason. Don't you love the contrast of how Jake looks like in the cutscene versus how he looks like in the game? Yep, gotta love it. The voice acting too. I don't know what kind of voice acting a dog should have, but it's most certainly not that. Anyways, you can see the kid right here after the cutscene. Did he not witness the entire thing? Anyways, I noticed immediately when running around is actually a super fluid system. The running and turning just feels great and I never got tired of it. Unfortunately, that gets ruined by one thing, which is pressing the circle button to select something. It's kind of like GTA, which actually is a hilarious comparison, of the character having to slowly adjust into just the right position. Later on, there's stuff that you know has a strict time limit, so it makes it way too stressful. In the first area, you can hear the radio when you are nearby, and they basically give hints of what you'll experience later on. Doesn't this one just sound weird?
Okay, so we got the line open here. Who have you got there, Clarice?
Why, it's Merle Chicken Wing, the chicken farmer.
Whoa, how you doing there, Merle?
Doing okay there, Hank. How's by you?
Oh, not so good, Merle, you know. Got a touch of the wobbly tummy today. Think I must have ate a funny hot dog at the state fair.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Hank. And, speaking of dogs...
Go ahead, Merle.
Oh, thank you, Clarice. My question is this. What the heck is happening to the dogs of Clarksville?
Whoa, that's one heck of a question there, Merle. But I don't get it. Did a big old dog come and poop in your chicken coop?
No, it's just that there seem to be less dogs around than there was last week. And I was just wondering if...
Oh, gotta do a little station ID here, Merle. Okay. So, folks, this is C.H.I.K., the voice of Clarksville. This here is Hiram J. Chicken Plucker, but you can call me Hank, and we're smack dab in the middle of Citizens Question Time. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Mom says he's as crazy as a nudist at the South Pole, but I think he's cool.
Wait, the kid said that? Crazy as a nudist in the South Pole? I mean, it's a great saying, but it already feels out of place for a kid's game. Keep in mind, this game is rated T for teen, but there were reviewers like Brad Shoemaker saying that this game is obviously for kids. Well, I'll keep going. Anyways, there is a first-person mode called Smell-O-Vision. This is what ruined the third-person mode. This has a fantastic mode of making it a collectathon by collecting these colored scents and seeing where all the bones are. The thing that makes this shitty is that you have to be in this mode 95% of the time, since this is where you can see all the side quests and scents. There is pretty much no purpose for the third person mode, and I find that that mode makes you appreciate the animations and environments more. It's just like with the tunnel vision, it's harder to appreciate those environments. It even applies to the platforming, for example, with this area, which, imagine a place like that near a farm that a kid lives in. Sounds awesome, but oh so dangerous. Each time you add up those cents, you unlock a minigame or a bone. The 50 purple cents always just give you a bone, while the others give you a minigame. If you fail that game, you gotta find those cents again. Unfortunately, the minigames are not plentiful. For example, in this one, you have a peeing minigame where you gotta pee in all 4 corners to collect it as territory and get the points. The other ones include racing, tug of war, chasing the dog in a game of tag, and a digging minigame. Entering the second area, it shows one more type of minigame you do, but with the scents. One appears at a time and you have a time limit to collect them all. Sounds simple enough. Eventually you will of course have a few missing, even if they are small hubs. The way to help with that is to press R1, which causes your snout to move towards the direction that would have said missing scents. The bonus that you get for completing these games, you can control the dogs for a short amount of time. It usually has a task that only this dog is able to do, such as the Chihuahua being able to fit in this door to collect the bone. You will always get bones for doing this, but trust me, some of them do get quite cool. There is one more minigame involving a dog, but it doesn't result in a bone. You gotta repeat the controls a dog does, and with that you unlock a new beg move. Of course, sometimes one group of movements end with the fart or poo effect, as seeing Jake poo with a celebratory sound is a sight to behold. Why do you need that stuff anyways? Well, you have a health system. Nope, it's not a health bar, but rather it controls stuff like how much Jake gallops, the speed in which he runs, and overall just how his demeanor is. You know, I never really reached a point where I died from lack of health, but I will show how much it affects your speed. Believe me, it gets completely bothersome. You then have what is arguably the best part. You have combo moves that can do stuff like barking, begging for food, and yes, shitting. You learned this from Grandpa, but I obviously knew it beforehand and had to do this.
Hey Jake, I've been expecting you. Gramps is drooling in his sleep again. Can you bark him awake?
One highlight, if it counts as a trick, was me playing basketball, which went about as well as you'd expect. Each person tends to have their own reaction to each thing. People with purple scents are usually pointless except for maybe begging for food, unless you're too dirty and smelly of course. But the ones with yellow will give you a bone for completing a quest. Anyways, what do you do if you're too dirty? There is one hub per in-game world that's a sort of pet spa, and you go in for some spring cleaning. Each area gives you the ability to get 7 or 8 bones. Most of them feel way too repetitive early on, of finding ones buried in the garbage or the ones from the minigames. The ones that stand out the most are the ones that you get from these side quests. The ones from the garbage might actually be the worst ones to get though. I find that you either have to really charge at it or jump and land on it. Of course, when in doubt, just shit right in front of it. I 100%ed the game, which took around 8.5 hours. And I find that if you don't want to do that, you can beat this game a lot more quickly. You need a certain amount of bones required to be in a minigame with a dog, but it's always a lower amount. I wouldn't say this is a spoiler because collectathons obviously do this, but you get 125 bones total in this, and by the end you don't even require something in the hundreds. Doing the first area over time, I realized something weird. I followed this car and look at its route. It goes to the farm, turns around, goes to the intersection at the end, backs up, turns around, and repeats. Why would a car do such a thing? I mean, I get it because you need to use the car to get into the barn, but they could have made the car go through a more natural route. The second area already kind of shows the partially unfortunate part about this game. I find that there's not really enough variety in the environments themselves. Of course, it's still good enough for me to want to soak them in, but the gist of it tends to be the same. Like here's the farmlands, with the biggest change of it being the suburbs near the end. The second area definitely had a lot of highlights to make up for it at least. I love the sheepdog minigame of herding all the sheep to a gated area, which by the way they get loose right after the minigame ends too, and looking at the hot air balloon. This area,
I was out chopping wood, and now I can't find my axe. Oh, what am I gonna do?
Did you hear that too? He's obviously saying ass, not axe. This scientist part was just disturbing. I mean, listen to this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off! Oh no, my beautiful rocket!
But that's not the worst part. Look at what happened when I collected a part. What the hell? What kind of a creepy glitch is that? The suburb led to some interesting parts. For example, this woman hates you, calling you a nasty dog and won't let you in.
Get away from here, you nasty dog.
You gotta bring the other dog with a note to be let in, and give the note to a little girl with her brother being outside. This does show some complexity, albeit barely any, but it's a sign of what's to come. For another example, this mailman is terrified of one tiny dog, which by the way, look at the drivers in the background. Anyways, you gotta do this thing of locking this dog in the garage. And obviously I had to leave the dog in the garage and let them die. Nah, just kidding. I obviously let the dog out right after. Upon entering the city, I began to realize just how repetitive the music was. It's definitely background music and you'll forget about it immediately. And looking at the YouTube links for it is just in the first few levels. And then they kind of forgot about the future ones and just recycled the same music. Also, if you want to talk about ridiculous kids, just watch this. This does introduce the mechanic of a Doberman and a dog catcher chasing you though. You gotta do this to unlock the next in-game world. When a dog catcher gives up, he just sits there with a newspaper, while the Doberman hardly cares depending on the bone count. It's weird because said Doberman is a dog that you can control in this area. In between worlds, you get a cutscene with the dog nappers.
Would you care for a tissue, Wayne?
Oh, mind your own beeswax, Dwayne.
Hello, Dwayne speaking.
Well, did you collect some nice, clean Clarksville dogs?
Yes, Miss Peaches.
What about some nice, clean mountain dogs from up at Lake Minnewawa?
Not yet, Miss Peaches.
Oh, fiddlesticks! Can't I trust you idiots to do anything?
Sorry, Miss Peaches.
Do you know what happens to idiots who disappoint me?
Yes, Miss Peaches. Wayne?
What?
That was Miss Peaches. She says, why aren't we in Lake Minnewawa?
Because, Dwayne, you are useless at reading road maps. Wait! Look! At last!
It then takes you to the next world, Lake Minnewawa. Right when you enter there, you can already see the complexity being applied. There's a little girl here missing a coat. You actually gotta travel to another hub to find it, where the ski slopes are. Which, by the way, had this amusing moment.
Whoops! Oh no, not again!
Of course, there's nothing too deep, but it shows that difficulty progression that I look for in games. Of course, with a winter area, you know what that means. Ice. This might actually have the worst ice physics of any game, but then again, a dog would totally struggle with that, so I shouldn't complain. You can start seeing the problems with the circle button to select here, and this guy's looking at us like, what the hell are these dogs doing? Funny thing is, right in this area there is that dog napper, so technically you could skip the rest of the hubs and just go straight to the next in-game world. The slope area does show some of the weird voice acting.
I bet you can't hit me with like 3 snowballs.
Do kids even talk like that? Even stoner kids? This does have one of the better side quests though, making a snowman. Although it shows a strange glitch. For some reason the branches disappeared. Also fetching one piece of coal at a time. Blah. Also, oh no, this dog's completely stuck. I guess that dog is gonna die too. Nah, just kidding. Surprisingly, it is very tough to get a game over, or at least to death. I mean, except this death. Nah, I'm just joking, they're okay. And eating a sandwich fixed everything. Well, until I reached the area with the boulders. Turns out it's pretty much no punishment for that happening, so at least the nerves would be gone for a younger person playing this. Now, listen to the background music here. When I said before that the music starts to repeat, it becomes even more and more apparent. They could have at least had this sort of wintry song for the lake area, but at least it leads to a St. Bernard rescuing someone even with that small barrel on its neck. Is that the best trope of all time? I think so. The hotel has one of the strangest dog side quests and human side quest. For the dog one, you gotta catch the rats and throw them in the garbage can. And look at them taunting at you like that. But the worst part is just how nitpicky it is to throw the rats in the garbage can. Of course, they are neatly organized when in there and not harmed. The human side quest involves giving hats to a pianist, who then does different songs depending on which one. It pretty much always leads to a disaster. The third area shows more twist towards the plot.
I'm covered with dog germs.
Perhaps you may be in the wrong line of work, Wayne.
Oh, mind your own beeswax, Dwayne.
Hello, Dwayne speaking.
Well, did you collect some nice clean mountain dogs to supplement those nice clean Clarksville dogs?
Yes, Miss Peaches.
Excellent. I must have only the freshest, most organic animals. Deliver them to the Boom City Dog Pound. Now.
Can I ask a question, Miss Peaches?
Oh, very well, if you must.
You're not gonna hurt them little doggies, now are ya?
Are you questioning my genius, you overgrown ox?
No, Miss Peaches. Wayne?
What?
That was Miss Peaches. I think maybe she could use some therapy.
Oh, for pity's sake. Wait, look, at last.
And oh boy, Boom City. Looks like we are nearing there. This one doesn't really have the complexity of the side quests in terms of using different hubs, but there is the added complexity of the side quests themselves. For example, there is the sheriff that talks like, well, this.
How's about you and me track down the sleeping bandit? He's a famous robber. I hate that punk. My dog lost his sense of smell when the sleeping bandit doused him in perfume.
You gotta get yourself into a warehouse, which involves a platforming puzzle which is annoying as hell, and then moving around the boxes to make a path, obviously having to guess which one is the right one. And if you fall down during all of this, your health will go down, causing you to go slower. Man, they are really starting to make this challenging. Anyways, selecting the right pathway instead of the middle one has a missing bone, but it turns out you could just select it through the wall and have your snout go through it. Seeing the bandit? The sleeping bandit is sleeping. Didn't expect that at all. You gotta steal the mask very slowly. Then the complex part makes this interesting. You select the cop's dog as the side quest, and then that dog has to slowly go through the same path and open the button at the door. Of course, this contains the worst platforming ever. You can enter the upper floor of apartment buildings, which is cool, and leads to this radio station where the innuendo is so strong that I don't even think I can post it without making the video age restricted. The next area once again has a guitarist wanting his notes, and I wonder what he is playing. Oh no! Sweet Home Alabama? That might be copyrighted! The funny thing about it is the reward dialogue at the end.
Alright, little dude! I'm gonna write a song about you. I'll call it The Awesomely Wicked Dog. Yeah.
Also, I can kinda show it, but the music keeps changing back and forth like this, and it's a hard cut every time. The side quest with the dog here is the absolute worst. You gotta rescue cats by throwing them inside the owner's house, but the door stays open, so the cats slowly move out again. I had to repeat this like 5 times by picking them up once again and throwing them back in there. The amusing thing about this is that there was a shitload of cars here once, and I was confused about what was going on. It turns out the cat was in front of one of the cars and caught on the wheel there, and that caused a traffic jam. The last area had the biggest twist, of me getting shot. So, I know what you're thinking. This game isn't that weird, right? I mean, where's the T for teen rating? I mean, it's kind of crude and there's some pretty heavy innuendo. But trust me, it's all because of the final act. I mean, it's obviously spoilers, so look away right now if you don't want to see it. You then go into the dog pound.
This place is terrible for my allergies.
Wayne, I'm thinking of opening up a hypoallergenic dog grooming parlor.
What?
So people like you can enjoy playing with doggies.
Hey guys, you late?
Yes, sorry. We had some difficulties.
Miss Peaches is in a very bad mood.
Worse than usual?
Oh yeah. When I brought in my load, she blew her top. Said Boom City dogs were filthy. Said she wanted a nice, clean Clarksville dog to be the first to go in the big machine.
I think she wants to hurt them nice doggies, Wayne.
Oh, for pity's sake, Dwayne, stop sniveling.
Would you care for a tissue, Wayne? They're extra soft.
I hate this job.
First off, look at the atmosphere of it. The trap dogs, and on top of that, the music. This was the most nerve-wracking part though. Remember the Doberman chasing you before? It is constantly chasing you here. You gotta pick up the keys and open the suitable cage, all while the dog catcher and Doberman are chasing you. Believe me, it was nail-biting. But this shows when the circle part to pick up starts getting really bad. See how I got caught here? I pressed the circle button and Jake had to do the slow backing up of being able to pick it up. Rescuing all of them anyways, the dog catcher gives up and says, "Screw this, I'm gonna take up coding."
Ah, to heck with this dog catching business. I'm gonna pursue my dream of programming computer games.
Way to do that Reddit meme. It then leads to the finale. Yeah, that's how this place looks like. You gotta deactivate all the saw blades and crushing machines and all that, or else this will happen to Daisy. It gets rough when, yes, the circle button has Jake slowly adjusting once again. You then break the final machine and it leads to what might be the strangest ending of all.
I did it! I rescued Daisy! Oh yes, she will be mine.
Thought you'd outwit Miss Peaches, didn't you, you disgusting creatures? Now you will both be transformed into nice, gooey food for my precious kitty cats. Get your doggy asses into the big machine.
Speaking of food, I had beans and cabbages for supper. Take this, cat lady.
Canning Miss Peach's cat food.
I'll get you for this, you horrible hounds! I'll track you down! I'll slice you! I'll dice you! I'll mash you! If it's the last thing you see me...
Slicing, dicing, mashing. Miss Peach's is cat food.
Well, that's it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. It's too big of a contrast for a kid's game to have an ending like this. But what did I think of this? I honestly had a fun time. It was a strange rabbit hole seeing the background of this and everything. But honestly, who cares about that when you're just playing the game? For a budget game, this was a quite fun collectathon. With its more casual difficulty, I never found myself too stressed out except for the ending. And avoiding stress is one of the things some gamers look for. I spent around 30 minutes on average per area to 100% the game, and I'd suggest you do the same. The side quests of the dogs and people are what makes this special, and at least aiming for 100% is what will give you the most out of it. Believe me, I wouldn't say that as I normally hate 100%ing a game. Thanks for watching.